Hello, welcome back. Our next presenter, our next speaker is Kristijan Pavlovic, a data engineer at Poslovna Inteligencija, graduated from the Faculty of Electrical Engineering, Computer Science and Information Technology in Osijek. Kristijan will introduce you to Ansible, an open source tool that allows you to automate the configuration, deployment and management of IT infrastructure and demonstrate how they use it to deploy an Elasticsearch-based data for the Cyber 4D project. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello everyone. My name is Kristijan Pavlovic, and I work as a data engineer at Poslovna Inteligencija. Today, I'm going to introduce you to Ansible and demonstrate how we used it to automate the deployment of an Elasticsearch-based data lake for our Cyber 4D project. I'm sorry, I think I lost the clicker. Okay. So who are we? Poslovna Inteligencija is the leading ICT consulting company in Southeastern Europe. While we nurture strong partnerships with all the leading technology vendors, we are technology agnostic. We have more than 200 employees and over 20 years of experience in the largest data and analytics, performance management, data migration, data engineering, and machine learning projects. Our headquarters are in Zagreb, and we also have offices in London, Vienna, Stockholm, Ljubljana, Belgrade, Podgorica, and Sarajevo. Cyber Rapid Response Toolbox for Defense Use, or Cyber 4D for short, is a project launched under the European Defense Industrial Development Program in December of 2021, and it takes on a challenge to develop an easily deployable, modular, rapid response toolbox to manage cyber incidents. This written here is a direct quote, and I will describe it in simpler terms in the next few slides. So on the project, we have 11 participants from 6 countries. Our coordinator is BPTI from Lithuania, and the consortium of companies that work on this project are from Lithuania, NRD Cybersecurity, from Poland, ASECO, Metra is from Romania, and it's part of the Ministry of National Defense of Romania. From Croatia, we have Infigo and Poslovna Inteligencija. From France, Airbus Cyber Security and Thales. And the last but not least, we have Leonardo from Italy. We also have some linked parties that work on this project, and that's CipherGate from Italy and Comsort from Poland. This is the design of the toolbox. The idea is to have a back office, so shown here on the right side, on the location of the client. For example, the Ministry of Defense of a country, and to have an ability to create so-called remote sites. The remote site is shown here on the left side, and it's defined as an off-site location, for example, a military base or a part of a critical infrastructure that collects the data and analyzes it, and it can also send the data back to the back office, depending on the type of the mission for further analysis. Poslovna Inteligencija is working on the data science workplace and entity linking module. My colleague Petar Zečević is the module owner for data science workplace module, and my colleague Goran Gvozden, who also has a presentation today, is the module owner for the entity linking module. I work at the data science workplace module, and the role of the data science workplace module is to provide a fast, configurable data lake for logs and network activity. The module integrates the data from different sources and provides a single source of data available for visualization, analysis, and reporting by other modules. This is just an overview of the data science module. So data science module collects the data from collection modules and OPSEC and vulnerability assessment modules. So the data is enriched with the output from anomaly analysis, binary encode analysis, and entity linking module. And the data is visualized by the visualization module. Analysts can individually access the data science module to manually analyze the available data. This here is our module's tech stack. We use Ansible to deploy and manage everything listed here on this slide. We have scripts that set everything up and tear everything down. More on Ansible later, of course. Everything is deployed on Kubernetes. We have 3 master and 3 worker nodes, and everything is set up to be highly available. We use Elasticsearch as our main storage engine for the collected data. So this is our data lake. And it is a distributed, highly available search engine that allows quick indexing and retrieval of various structured and semi-structured data. Apache Spark is our processing engine of choice. It offers DS module users data analysis and cross-incident correlation capabilities. Apache Airflow is our workflow management tool that enables data science module to schedule and orchestrate data synchronization jobs. And the last here is Jupyter Hub. It offers an environment for writing jobs that interact with Apache Spark and Elasticsearch. I've already mentioned Data Lake in a few times. It is mentioned in the title of this talk. So I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to what a data lake is. So it is a centralized repository which stores all of your structured and unstructured data at any scale. It allows organizations to perform data processing tasks on their data without having to move it to different locations or convert it to different formats. And onto our main topic of this presentation. So what is Ansible? Ansible is an open source command line automation tool written in Python. It can configure systems, deploy software, orchestrate advanced workflows to support application deployment, system updates, and more. Its main strengths are simplicity and ease of use. It also has strong focus on security and reliability, featuring minimal moving parts. It can be used on bare metal servers and also on VMs. It can configure both Unix-like and Windows machines, but needs to be installed on an Unix-like machine. For example, on Windows, it can be installed on VSL, so Windows Subsystems for Linux. It is agentless. It relies on temporary SSH or Windows Remote management connections to other machines to configure them. And it is also highly extensible. You can write a custom module, but you can also use one of the 1,000 included modules. So its main components, first you need to have a control node. That is a system on which Ansible is installed. You run Ansible commands on a control node. There is also a managed node. So that is a remote system or host that the Ansible controls. And the inventory, so that's a file that provides a list of all of the managed nodes that are logically organized. You create an inventory on the control node to describe host deployments to Ansible. Based on the main components mentioned on the previous slide, this is our inventory file. So first we have master 01, that is our control node, and also our Kubernetes master node. We installed Ansible on it and use it to connect to the rest of the machines. Every other node listed here is a managed node, and we also organize them in groups. So for example, we have one Kubernetes master and 2 of its replicas. And for that, we've created the master primary group and also master replicas group. But what if we want to do a job on all of the 3 machines? So we created also one group that is called Kubernetes masters that has children. So Kubernetes master primary group and the master replicas group. And at the end, we also have workers, so worker 1, 2, 3. And if you want to select all of the nodes to do a job on all of them, we have Kubernetes nodes that merges masters and workers in a same group. So the first step to control any of the control nodes would be to set up an SSH connection so Ansible can connect to the managed nodes. And that is done by adding your public SSH key to the authorized keys file on each remote system. That can be done manually, but of course this is Ansible, so you don't have to do it manually. In our case, we asked colleagues from IT to create a user with root privileges on all of the VMs, and we did everything else by using Ansible. So after creating the inventory file, we need to write our automations. So in Ansible, playbooks are automation blueprints. They are written in YAML format, and Ansible uses them to deploy and configure managed nodes. It can be run from terminal by using the Ansible playbook command. A play is an order list that maps tasks to managed nodes in an inventory, and a task defines the operations that Ansible performs. So playbooks can have multiple plays, so one playbook can have multiple plays, and each play can have multiple tasks. I will show you that later on. There are many possible ways to organize playbook, playbook contents, and we are following the Ansible roles organizational feature. So inventory is defined by the files in the root of the directory. So we have here development and production inventory. So it depends on where we want to execute those jobs. We can write the name of the inventory file, and the jobs will be then executed on a development or production server, or servers, or environment. We also have Elasticsearch YAML file here in the root of the directory. That is a playbook that runs the plays located in the roles folder. So right here we have just one play. It's called Elasticsearch. And every play can have multiple folders. We are using just a few of them because we don't need them all. So we have the tasks folder. It contains all of the tasks that play needs to execute. The main YAML file inside of tasks is run by default, but you can also have multiple other files for some other tasks that you want to perform, and you can include them in the main one, and they will be executed. We also have the templates folder. So the templates folder contains all of the template files that we want to use for this play. For example, if you have a configuration file that needs to use some of the variables from the, I will explain later, from the group vars, host vars, or anything else, you can use the templates. It uses a Jinja 2 templating engine, and you can generate and move that configuration file anywhere you want. There's also a files folder. It contains all of the files that you need for your play. For example, you can have some scripting files. You can have any other helper files that don't need to be templated before. You also have vars and defaults. They both contain a main YAML file that contains just the variables that you want to use for that play. But the main difference between them is that the defaults folder has a lower priority. So it's kind of the best practice to put all of the variables inside of the defaults folder and not really use the vars folder, but it really depends on your usage. Also, there are other vars that you can define. So in Ansible, there are like 20 ways to define variables for your play. You have group vars that is a folder that defines variables for a particular group from your inventory file. So if you just want to execute a task on all of the, Kubernetes master nodes, you can do it by putting the variables in that group vars folder, and only and only those machines will see that variables. You also have host vars that is used if you want to use some variables only on a particular host. For example, in our case, we can use host vars and write variables to be used just on the master O1 node. Okay. So this is the playbook. So this is really an example of our, example based on our Elasticsearch Ansible playbook. As you can see, it's really a small file, but it contains host line that selects the group from the inventory file, and it also contains roles, and that's a list that can contain multiple plays that need to be executed. If we didn't use the Ansible roles organization feature, we could have all of the tasks written here right in this file, and also all of the variables that need to be used. But that's not really the best practice, so we decided to move everything to the roles organization feature. And roles Elasticsearch runs the tasks main file, as I said, and there you can include all of the other files that you want. This is the file that the playbook runs. So this is, for example, our main YAML file. It contains all of the tasks that need to be executed. So every task has a name and has a definition what it should do. So right here, we use Kubernetes core collection. And inside of that collection, there's a Kubernetes module. And we use that for almost all of our deployments that need to be done on the Kubernetes cluster. Right over there, you can see ECK version. So that's Elastic Cloud on Kubernetes. And you can put multiple, you can put any version that is deployed on that download site and download them. But we provide that value from the variable files. And at the beginning of this display, it loads all of the variables from the defaults folder, and also after that, so it's with the lowest precedence, and then from the group vars and host vars folders, and also after that, all of the variables from the vars folder. It also makes use of all of the files that are in the files or templates folders, and you don't need to specify like a relative or absolute path. You can just write the file name, and it will know where are they located and use them. To run the Ansible playbook, you run the Ansible playbook command from your terminal. You provide the path to the inventory file. In our case, we are running from the root of the directory. We just have to write development. And we are using the -i flag here for that. You also use other flags to provide some more informations. Of course, I said that variables are used a lot in Ansible. You can use -e flag to write any extra variables that you want to have the highest precedence, and it will use them instead of the other ones. And at the end, you just write the name of the playbook. The playbook generates an output. So at the end of the output, you can see the play recap, and it shows what has been done. So if you see green and yellow, that's okay. If you see red, there's an error, and you need to take a look at the whole output of that command and see what went wrong. You need to change that, run the command again, and that's it. That's really it for Ansible. So if you run the Kubernetes command to get all of the pods on the, for example, Elasticsearch namespace, you will see that the pods are all starting, and in a few moments, everything is started and ready. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? And while we wait for questions, I just want to show this slide. So if you scan this QR code, you can schedule a free consultation session with one of our data experts and discuss your current data analytics challenge. Thank you. So questions? Anyone? Okay, here you go.
How does Ansible work with some credentials?
Credentials?
Yes, credentials.
Yeah, there is a part of Ansible that we are not using because we have some other ways to store credentials, but it has like a secrets manager, so like credentials manager that holds all of the credentials, and you can encrypt them and then later on decrypt them to see the value of it. So I think there are different ways to use some secrets with Ansible.